Hey, somebody forget a folder in here?
Brianna Billings, Adam Heflin, Jackie Van Ort, Andrew Dornbeer, Anna Naniga, Alexia Keish, Maya Tinseth, Andrew First. Please come to the office.
Sorry. I haven't thought about it yet. I haven't had time. I'll think about it.
What do I sit on? I have no idea. I guess.
Oh, it's your same spot.
Oh, buddy, I'm
Jeez.
Jason.
You should have just stayed home.
Huh?
You should have just stayed home.
Alex, I think you.
I was just home
That
one
right
day.
there.
My mom and dad didn't want me to like miss out.
Alex,
like,
I think you sit right there.
Okay, so when I was in Lincoln, I went to school Saturday because like we had nothing to do.
You went to school.
You went to school on a Saturday.
I meant Friday. And also, guess what? That one day I met a girl and she asked me out. Aww. Happy, yeah.
Alex.
You went to school there?
Yeah, just for one day because.
You know you can't do that.
Well, guess what? I did because they let me because they heard the story. So.
What story? Your dinosaurs?
No, they're not cancer. They got it all out.
Oh, I heard you got your PS4 taken from you.
Yeah, I did.
I get to
Yeah.
sit wherever I want. Yay.
She's a goner.
John, I get to sit wherever I want. Come here, buddy. Okay, kind of like you.
Did you hear that?
What?
We'll get PS4 taken away.
How did you get it taken away?
I was talking back to my parents.
Oh.
Go clean the refrigerator. No, I want to eat it all.
I would have said.
And I did dishes.
Do
And
dishes.
I went out with friends.
I don't do any chores. I don't do anything at home. I just
You went out with friends.
They let me do whatever I want.
And
One of my friends did that this weekend twice.
I can do it whatever I want.
I got two.
Okay. All right, we're going to go through a couple notes here today. That's all we're going to do. I want to make sure that if you did not get time to work on page 76, 78, that was the one I gave you Friday. That is due today. That was the one on adding fractions, mixed numbers, impropers, all that good stuff. Today, we're just going to do a couple notes, then we're done. That's easy. I'm not going to give you homework today. You're going to have an actual break over Thanksgiving where you can actually enjoy it. No homework, nothing like that. It's kind of a rarity, but I do want you to enjoy your break for once. It's been a while. So, but let's go through a couple notes here today.
so far, we haven't had anyone on the break.
Oh, wait. You haven't started either. Good. I'll walk it down. Down somewhere, right? Yeah, I'll walk it down. Need to fill out a couple things here. I need to make sure that one of those pictures are drawn.
Jason.
I'll bring you down there. I think Ryan's down there too. So.
I don't have it.
Yep. I forgot.
Get on two.
I'll be right back. Have your notes up. We're going to talk about how to subtract fractions.
You're back.
Where are you?
Lincoln. Yeah. Wait a minute. Is he like 20? Okay, good. Like what?
You can either have it for one day of school or work.
Huh? Like almost the same, but different.
Alex, were you from the road yesterday?
Yeah.
Mm.
Came home late. So. Well, not yesterday.
How did you get
2 days
out?
ago.
Were you going to prison?
Yeah. I was watching Netflix. I couldn't live because like it kept saying like it signed me out, so I can only watch Netflix. Like try to join your Friday, and then I tried messaging you, but not letting me message you.
Well, I did want to play. I just wanted to talk about your trip.
Oh, well, sorry, a good one. What?
That's all you could do was watch Netflix.
Oh, did you subtract? Or not? Did you do anything? Oh.
Alright, so here we go. Let's talk about what we're going into today. We're going on to section 312. We started this yesterday, if you don't know. I posted the video online so you can watch it in case we're gone. What we've been talking about is subtracting fractions. Today, I'm going to do just a couple easy examples of subtracting fractions, and then what we're going to look at today is how to do a borrowing technique. That's what I want to really discuss today, and that's one of our problems that I want to show you, because there's kind of easy ways for adding and subtracting, and then there was this one problem I showed you yesterday, but it didn't work out, and I do want to talk about that today. So subtracting fractions. So we're going to look at how to do simple fractions today. So simple fractions. We're going to look at mixed numbers and proper. And then we're going to get to this borrowing technique, which is the thing I kind of hinted at yesterday, but we never really discussed. So, mixed numbers and proper and borrowing. And the borrowing is the main thing that I want to talk about today. And we do this correctly. The borrowing method, or technique, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so does everyone understand what we're going to try to get through today? Do a couple examples. Remember, my goal is not to give you homework today, so we can actually enjoy our Thanksgiving break. But I do want to get through at least a couple examples to make sure that we know what we're doing. So when we get back, we can get some homework on this. We only have, I think, 2 sections left. So we're looking at like a test maybe the end of next week. Like maybe Friday, Thursday sometime. I think even Mr. Schmidt, I think you're going to do kind of a review with them at one point. I'll always give you the practice guide like but we'll do a full review one day or 2 days if we need it. So that'll be kind of fun. Kind of shake things up a little bit. Okay, all right. So let's talk about, let's do some simple fractions. Let's talk about, can we subtract fractions like this? Okay, so big thing is, number one, are the denominators the same? Tess is already down with Mrs. Bunker. She's already good to go, so if you have a property sheet calculator, you're good. Okay, so common denominators, we said no, they're not common. So what's the common number that 5 and 11 both go into? Almost said it. 5 and 11 both go into?
55.
55. All right, almost said it. All right, so we're going to change these both to be 55. Now the shortcut for doing that, just multiply these two numbers together. That's the shortcut. That's how you know what your common denominator is. You can find smaller numbers, that's fine. We'll look at that maybe next week. But this is the easiest way to do it. Just multiply them together, so this is a 55 as well. You have to get common denominators before you can add or subtract. Multiplying didn't matter. You just go straight across, multiplying top and bottom. But adding and subtracting is not the case. You have to get these common denominators. So in this first fraction, what did I multiply in this 11? 5, right? I took it times 5, so I have to take the top times 5. So that's why that's 45. Over here, I took this 5 times 11, so I had to take the top times 11. So that turns out to be 33. Now, I can subtract. Because now the bottoms are exactly the same number, and you can actually subtract the top. So if we actually do this, the 55 will stay in the bottom, because that's how you subtract. You just subtract the top numbers. 45 minus 33. 12. Oh, done. That's what I want. I don't mind if you simplify it. I mean, we're just trying to get down to our simplest answer. Does that make sense, what we're doing here? Okay, so not bad. That was just a simple fraction. But what we started yesterday, because we've been adding and subtracting, can we do it with mixed numbers? Can we do it with improper fractions? That type of thing. Okay? Let's do one where we do improper. Let's do an improper fraction first. So let's go 19 over 3 minus, let's go with 7 over 4. Do something like that. So we're going to start with improper. Okay, now what makes these fractions improper? Let's talk about that first.
Big numbers on top.
Yeah, big numbers on the top, right? The numerator, that top number, the numerator is too big. It's still the same rules. You have to get common denominators before you can add or subtract these together. So I can't just go straight across. Don't tell me, don't go 19 minus 7 and 3 minus 4. Don't do that. We need to make sure that we get the common number on the bottom. So anyone know what numbers that you want to make these bottom numbers turn into? 12. You can pick 12. It's any numbers that 3 and 4 both going to. 12 is the easiest to multiply together. Don't overthink it. So I'm going to put 12 down here. So on this first fraction, we multiplied it by 4. So I have to take the top times 4. And that's like the hardest part about doing improper. You're going to get some big numbers. They're going to be goofy. It's not a normal way of doing this. So, but 4 times the 19, that's a 6, 76, I believe. And then on the other one, we multiply this by a 3. So I take the top times 3. So I get 21. And now we can actually subtract. Okay, so is there any questions with how I just changed the numerators and the denominators? Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. That's how I'm getting that 76 and 21. Question?
So once you find the bottoms, like before, like you did all this stuff,
Yep.
the bottoms stay the same.
They stay the same. So that 12 is going to stay down there. I don't care about the 12 anymore. Yep. Question?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right. So 76 minus 21. And then I know, like what we said earlier, like Alex even asked, like what's going to 12 is going to do. 12 is going to stay on the bottom. I don't really care about the 12 anymore. 76 minus 21. 55? Okay. Yep, you're absolutely right. Because basically how I do it, just off the side, if you don't know, just subtract them. That's 5, that's 5. So I'm just subtracting the top. However you want to do that, you can even do it by hand. Okay, now, don't get me wrong, that is the answer. But it's not our final answer. Because since it is improper, I do want you to change that back. I do want you to put it into mixed numbers. Okay? You don't need to simplify it all the way, but I do want it as a mixed number, though. That's what I want. That's what I care about. So how we did that, what we talked about the last couple days in here, you put the 55 in the house, the 12 goes on the outside. That's the way that most of you said you kind of prefer. You like to do the house method. So 12 can go into 55 4 times. That's 48. If you go 5 times, that's 60. It's too big. Okay, so 12 times 5. So 12 times 4 is 48. When I subtract here, I need to borrow. That's a 4. Make that a 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 4 minus 4 is 0. So that's my remainder. So my final answer, changing this back, it'll be a large 4. What's my remainder? 7 twelfths. That's it. Whatever you do about it, 12 will stand above. Okay. Questions on how I did these? Not bad, right? It looks a lot like adding. Now that problem didn't need to start there. Maybe the problem on this one was maybe it was 6 1/3 minus 1 3/4. Maybe this was the problem to start with, and you changed it to improper. That's fine. But then remember, you always look at common denominator. Okay. Questions, comments on this stuff? Yes.
So let's say if it's a mixed number and you still times the 3 and 4, will that still work? And you just leave out the whole number?
That's what we're going to look at next. Yeah. So that's that method where you can like group things together. Yeah, that's what we're going to look at. Okay, but it's always your option. You can always change it to improper and then just do it like the way I just showed. Okay. Questions on the two problems on the board? Okay, now let's get to the one that Alice has. Can we do grouping method? Can you just do the mixed numbers like normal without having to change them improper? And that's what we looked at yesterday. That's what I want to talk about right now. So let's go with a small. Let's go with the small improper. Let's go 5 and let's go 4/7, and we're going to subtract. Let's go 1 and go 2/5. Okay, so we're going to be subtracting mixed numbers here. Okay, so just like I said earlier, you're always allowed to, if it's possible to do this, if it's possible, I'm going to show you when it's not. You can just group these up. You can just like rearrange and group. So you put the big numbers together, put the fractions together, and just do it like that. You don't need to change to improper and go. So what I mean by that is I can rearrange. I'm going to put the 5 minus the 1 over here. And on this side, I'm going to go the 4/7 minus the 2/5. I'm allowed to do that. As long as this fraction is technically a better score than the back one, you're allowed to do that. I don't want to get a weird negative number here. If we get negatives, then I'm going to show you what to do with that. Okay? But first, let's try to get common denominators here. What's the common denominator between 7 and 5? 35. So that means I'm multiplying, I'm basically just multiplying the two bottom numbers together to get 35s here. Right? So in this first fraction, I multiply by 5 to get the 35 right here. So I multiply the top times 5, I get 20. Over here, I multiplied by 7 to get 35, so I take the top times 7, that's 14. And yeah, we're fine. We can subtract that. That'll give me a nice number. So when we do this, what's 5 minus 1? 4. That's your big number up front. That's the big number. And then right here, just subtract these. 20 minus 14, 6, and 35 is the bottom. This is your answer. That's like the shortcut. So that's like Alex, what you're asking for. Yes, you're always allowed to do that. So there's always two ways you can attempt these problems. The problem is, I hinted at one problem yesterday. It was just one problem. It was just very subtle. It was like right at the end of class yesterday, right before you guys got work on your homework. Was there's that potential where this math doesn't work out, and that's the type of problem I want to show today. I want to show that problem. Maybe not the exact problem that we did yesterday, but I'll just kind of make it a different one that I know is not going to work. All right, so let me make up one here.
Yesterday was 5 1/3 minus 2 4/7.
Yeah, and it was just the way that the math worked out, we would have got some weird negative number in it, which didn't make any sense. So let's go with like 10 and, let's go 10 and a fourth minus 3 and 5/6. All right. Now, why the math doesn't work out is because if you look at the fractions, like the 1/4 and the 5/6, the 5/6 is actually a bigger fraction. That's why it doesn't work. So if we try to do that same strategy we did over there, where we like group them up and you move them around and you just like you put the big numbers next to each other, you put the fractions next to each other, and you try to subtract, you will not get a number that makes any sense. Because right now, what this is saying, this is about $10 roughly. That's about $4. So when I subtract it, you get about six something, right? Make sense? It shouldn't be negative. It shouldn't be like in the hole. I had $10 and I spent $3. I have about $6 left, right? $6 or $7, right? So, but when we do the math here, 10 minus the 3, so I'm going to group those big numbers together. I'll group the fractions together. And remember, I have to keep them in the right order, right? 10 minus 3, this minus that. And getting common denominators here, the common denominator, maybe I'll go, I can make these 12s, I can make them 24s. What number do you want to make the bottom? 12? Okay, let's make them 12. So let's make the bottom numbers 12s. So on this first fraction, I multiply by 3, take the top times 3, that's 3. Over here, I multiply by 2, multiply the top times 2, I get 10. There's your problem right there. You're already seeing it. We're going to get a negative number. 3 minus 10, you're going to get some weird negative 7 over 12. That doesn't make any sense. This number over here was 7. That doesn't make any sense. You should not get a negative number. Because I had $10, I spent 3, it should be about $6. this doesn't make any sense. And this is the part where I want to show you this new technique. We don't have to change this to improper. If you change these to improper, you'll get the right answer. It's guaranteed, 100%. If you change it to improper, you'll get the correct answer, not this one. Okay, so here's the technique. I know that when I first started this problem, that this fraction was too small. 1/4 on a test is it's a terrible score compared to that one. So I can just tell like instantly that these fractions are not going to work out. Okay, so here's what you do first. This is like your way of guaranteeing that you're going to get the correct answer in the end. What I do first, when I first start a problem, like when I have mixed numbers like this, I get the common denominators before I start, which is weird. I do this first. This is how I do it. So I'm going to make these both 12s in the bottom, right? I do this first. So I'm going to multiply this by 3, this times 3, so that's 3 on the top. Over here, I multiply this by 2, so I take the top times 2, I get 10. So I can already tell, like, right before I even begin the problem, this fraction is too small compared to that one. So it's really hard to subtract. Adding, no big deal. But subtracting, it's not going to work. So here's what you can do. This is called borrowing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow from the 10 here, making it $9. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm basically taking and I'm separating the $10 into 9 plus $1. Do you agree that 9 plus 1 is 10? Okay? So I'm borrowing $1 from the 10, making it 9. So I'm borrowing $1 out of the savings account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that dollar here. I'm going to add a full dollar to this for a full pan. I have 10 full pans of brownies. I'm going to take one of the pans away and mix all the brownies into this pan right here. Well, one full pan of brownies is 12 over 12, correct? Yeah, that's a full pan of brownies using these numbers. That's 12 out of 12. I'm going to add that 12 out of 12 to the 3 over 12. That's called borrowing. I'm borrowing a full pan, making the same denominator I have here, and it's always 12 over 12. If this was a 15, it'd be 15 over 15. And that's what I'm going to add to this. So what does this make if I add those together? 15 over 12. Okay, so that's what I get. This is borrowing from the 10, making this number, this fraction bigger. But you can only do this once you have the common denominators. You're allowed to do that. Here's the shortcut. You want to know the shortcut for doing this? Make this number 1 less. Add the bottom number to the top number. 15 over 12. That's how I do it. That's like the fastest way I can show you how to find a common denominator. Whatever the bottom number is, you add it to the top automatically. So that's why I added 12 plus 3, so I got 15. That was the shortcut. Okay, so now that we're here, now that I've borrowed, now I can subtract the 3 and 10 12ths. And it will actually guarantee that I'll get the correct answer now. So now I can do that technique that I showed Alex earlier where I was like grouping things up. The 9 minus the 3, the 15 12ths minus the 10 12ths. And now I can actually subtract here. What's 9 minus 3? 6. That's a big number. 15 minus the 10 on the top? 5 12ths. That is technically your right answer. That's the correct answer for this problem. Because if I borrow it, that's the correct amount that's involved there. It's about $6. Okay, let's do another one. Let's take a look at another one. So we can take a look at how this works. Okay, let's make up any number we want. Let's keep the number small.
2.
2? Make a small fraction.
2
Let's go 2 fifths. Let's do that. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Just kind of some random number. Right? All right, let's subtract a smaller number than 2. Let's go with 1. And say it again?
1 and 1/4.
Make a fraction that's a little bit better than 1/4. Let's go like
2/4.
3/4. Just something bigger. I want to make sure that that back fraction is big. So it's a good score. Right? 3 out of 4. All right. So, oh yeah, we got to go to lunch. Okay, let's go to lunch. We'll come back. We'll finish this problem up.